You ever think about, like, who really owns, like, everything you know?
What?
And what it really takes to, like, connect with something bigger than ourselves?
Yeah,
It's a question people have been asking forever, right?
yeah, for sure.
So today we're diving into Psalm 24.
Okay.
This is an ancient text attributed to King David.
All right.
And we're going to be looking at some really big ideas in this text,
Okay.
like ultimate ownership
Uh-huh.
and what it takes to approach the divine.
I like it.
What I find really interesting is how this psalm just comes right out and says it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it establishes a worldview right away.
absolutely.
I mean, that very first line is just so powerful.
It is, yeah.
The earth is the Lord's and everything in it.
Mm-hmm.
The world and all its people belong to him.
Wow.
So let's think about that for a second.
Okay.
If everything is owned by this one entity,
Yeah.
what does that mean for us?
Right.
What does that mean for the stuff we think we own?
That's a good question.
And for our place in the world?
Yeah. I mean, it really changes how we think about material things, doesn't it?
It does.
Instead of being like the ultimate owners of our possessions,
Right.
maybe we're more like stewards
Mhm.
or caretakers for a time.
Yeah, I like that.
Now, verse 2 goes on to explain why this is.
Okay.
For he laid the earth's foundation on the seas
Right.
and built it on the ocean depths.
So it's about creation.
Exactly.
Oh,
The
wow.
act of creation is what gives this ultimate ownership.
Makes sense.
It's like when you make something,
Yeah.
you have a special claim to it,
Right.
a kind of authority over it.
Exactly.
And then we get to verse 3,
Okay.
and this is where it gets really interesting for me,
Okay.
because it asks this question.
Mhm.
Who may climb the mountain of the Lord?
Who may stand in his holy place?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And I think this speaks to something really deep in us.
I think so too.
It's that desire to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
Like a longing for the sacred.
Yes, exactly.
It's a question of access.
Yeah.
Then,
It's not just acknowledging ownership, but
Yeah.
figuring out how to approach this higher power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the psalm goes on to give us some pretty specific criteria.
Oh, yeah.
In verse 4, it says, "Only those whose hands and hearts are pure,
Okay.
who do not worship idols and never tell lies."
Interesting.
So what do you think about those qualifications?
Well, I think there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
It's interesting how it focuses on both actions and intentions. you
Yeah.
know? Like pure hands probably means doing the right thing.
Yeah, avoiding harmful actions.
Right, exactly.
And then pure heart.
That's more about your inner self, right?
Mhm.
Like having sincerity and integrity.
Yeah, being true to yourself.
Yeah.
And then the part about idols,
Yeah, that's interesting too.
especially back then.
Yeah, it wasn't just about believing in one God.
Right, it was also about rejecting other powers and influences,
Right.
choosing where your allegiance lies,
Exactly.
and then this emphasis on truthfulness.
That's essential for any relationship,
Right.
especially with the divine.
You have to have that foundation of trust.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot to think about in just those few lines.
Yeah.
But the psalm doesn't stop there.
Okay.
Verses 5 and 6 go on to talk about the reward for those who meet these standards.
Okay.
They will receive the Lord's blessing and have a right relationship with God, their Savior.
Okay.
Such people may seek you and worship in your presence, O God of Jacob.
Or some texts say, "Oh, Jacob."
Right.
Mhm.
So it's clear that there's a connection
Yeah.
between ethical living and divine favor.
It suggests that God responds
Yes.
to those who live in this way.
And that alternative reading, "O Jacob,"
Yeah.
it kind of highlights the communal aspect of the seeking.
Right. It's not just an individual pursuit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then the tone shifts pretty dramatically in verse 7.
Oh, yeah.
Open up ancient gates.
Open up ancient doors and let the King of Glory enter.
It's a powerful image.
It is.
And this call is repeated twice,
Right.
which really emphasizes how important this arrival is.
Yeah. Who is this King of Glory?
Well, the psalm tells us,
So-
verses 8 and 10 describe him,
Mm.
the Lord strong and mighty.
The Lord invincible in battle.
Finally, the Lord of heaven's armies. He is the King of glory.
Wow.
So we see these titles emphasizing power.
Yeah.
Come on.
Ultimate authority.
Right.
And Lord of Heaven's armies.
Yes,
That suggests a sovereignty over everything.
exactly. So while humans have these ethical requirements to approach the divine,
Yeah.
this King of glory enters based on who he is.
Right.
Like he's already got the ultimate authority.
It's a different level of access.
Totally.
Hmm.
So thinking about all of this,
Yeah.
how do these ancient ideas about ownership and worthiness
Right.
resonate with you today?
Well, for me, it makes me think about our responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in a world that we don't ultimately own,
Right.
if there is this greater power,
Yeah.
does that change how we treat the planet, how we treat each other?
Yeah. And what about those ideas of inner and outer integrity?
Yeah.
Are those still relevant for us today?
Definitely food for thought.
So to sum up,
Yeah.
Psalm 24 presents this vision of a world owned by a higher power.
Mm.
And it lays out some pretty clear ethical principles
Yeah.
for those seeking connection with the divine.
It's like this balance
Yes.
between God's ultimate power
Right.
and our responsibility to live righteously.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you with this.
Okay.
If everything truly belongs to a higher power,
Mm-hmm.
how should that shape the way we live?
Right.
What values should we prioritize in our world?
That's a great question.
Something to think about.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, it's been a good one.
See you next time.
See ya.